There is a good chance you already have turmeric in your kitchen right now. Maybe a jar of the golden powder in the back of the spice cabinet. Maybe a bottle of turmeric capsules sitting in your supplement drawer. Maybe you add a spoonful to your morning smoothie because someone told you it was good for inflammation. And you are right, it is. But here is what almost no one tells you. The way most people consume turmeric, the way it is almost universally sold, recommended, and prepared, delivers almost none of its cancer-fighting compounds to the cells that need them most. Not a little less, almost none. I am Dr. Hayes Anderson, and after 22 years in senior health, I have seen firsthand how deeply chronic inflammation and cancer risk are connected, and how rarely patients are given the full picture about the foods that can genuinely shift that balance. Promise. By the end of this video, you are going to know exactly how turmeric works in the body, why the standard advice about it is dangerously incomplete, and how to eat it in a way that research shows actually delivers its protective compounds to your cells. This is not about taking more turmeric. It is about taking it correctly. And for seniors especially, that distinction is the entire difference between a spice that passes through your body doing nothing and a daily habit that may genuinely reduce your cancer risk over time. The science here is the truth that rarely gets explained clearly enough. Turmeric contains a compound called curcumin, and curcumin is what the research is actually about. Study after study, including trials published in major oncology and nutrition journals, has identified curcumin as one of the most promising natural anti-inflammatory and anti-cancer compounds ever studied. It interferes with the molecular pathways that allow abnormal cells to survive and multiply. It promotes what scientists call apoptosis, which is essentially the body's built-in self-destruction mechanism for damaged or precancerous cells. And it reduces the chronic low-grade inflammation that researchers now believe is one of the central drivers of cancer development in older adults. But here is the problem that no one puts on the label, and it is a significant one. Your body absorbs curcumin extraordinarily poorly on its own. Studies have shown that when you swallow curcumin without the right delivery conditions, it passes through your digestive tract almost completely unchanged. Your liver rapidly neutralizes whatever small amount does get absorbed, and the rest exits your body before it ever reaches the tissues it needs to protect. That golden spoonful in your smoothie? Research suggests you may be absorbing as little as 1% of the curcumin it contains. This is not a fringe theory. It is one of the most consistent and replicated findings in curcumin research, and it is the reason most people who eat turmeric regularly or take standard turmeric capsules experience very little benefit at all. The good news, and there is very real good news here, is that this absorption problem is completely solvable, and the solution costs nothing extra. It requires no special supplements or expensive formulations. It requires only 3 specific habits whenever you eat turmeric, habits that can increase your curcumin absorption by as much as 2,000%. I want to say that number again, 2,000%. That is not an exaggeration. That is what peer-reviewed research has found when these 3 conditions are met together. Let me tell you about Evelyn. Evelyn was 71 when she came to me for a general wellness review. She had a strong family history of colorectal cancer. Her mother and one of her brothers had both been diagnosed in their 60s. She had been eating turmeric every single day for 2 years, convinced she was doing something meaningful to protect herself. A full teaspoon in her oatmeal every morning, faithfully. When I explained what the research shows about absorption, she went quiet for a moment. Then she said, "So I've been eating this every day for 2 years, and my body has been ignoring almost all of it." Not ignoring it, just not receiving it the way she intended. And that was the important distinction. The solution was not to stop, it was to change how she used it. Rule 1. Black pepper. The first rule is this: turmeric must always be paired with black pepper. This is not folk medicine. This is biochemistry. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine, and piperine directly inhibits the metabolic pathways in your liver and intestines that would otherwise neutralize curcumin before it can reach your bloodstream. A landmark study published in Planta Medica found that combining curcumin with just 20 milligrams of piperine, roughly a small pinch of black pepper, increased curcumin bioavailability by 1,920%, nearly 2,000% from a pinch of pepper. Researchers now consider black pepper non-negotiable in any effective turmeric protocol. No black pepper means almost no absorption. It is that straightforward. Rule 2. Fat. The second rule is fat. Curcumin is fat-soluble, which means it dissolves in fat, not in water. When you eat turmeric without any fat present in the same meal, the curcumin has no vehicle to cross the intestinal wall and enter your lymphatic system. It needs fat to make that crossing. Think of it like this. Curcumin is trying to board a boat, but without fat in the meal, there is no boat. It waits at the dock and is eventually washed away. Olive oil, coconut oil, avocado, full-fat yogurt, eggs, any of these paired with turmeric in the same meal creates the conditions curcumin needs to be absorbed. This is why traditional golden milk, made with whole milk and a small amount of butter, has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for centuries. The cultures that developed those recipes didn't know the biochemistry, but they had stumbled onto exactly the right delivery mechanism. Fat is not optional with turmeric. It is structural. Stay with me, because the third rule is the one most people never hear at all, and it may matter most for seniors specifically. Rule 3. Heat. Heat activates turmeric. When curcumin is exposed to moderate heat during cooking, its molecular structure changes in ways that make it more bioavailable and more biologically active against inflammatory pathways. A study published in the journal Nutrition Research found that heating curcumin significantly enhanced its antioxidant activity compared to the raw compound consumed cold. What this means practically is that raw turmeric stirred into a cold smoothie, even if you have added black pepper and olive oil, is still delivering less active curcumin than the same amount of turmeric gently heated in a warm dish, a soup, a curry, or a cup of warm golden milk. You do not need high heat. You do not need to cook it for a long time. 10 to 15 minutes of gentle, moderate heat is enough to meaningfully change how the compound behaves in your body. Patient story, Stanley. Let me tell you about Stanley. Stanley was 74, a retired electrician, pragmatic, skeptical of what he called the health food industry, not someone who changed habits easily. His doctor had raised the subject of chronic inflammation at his annual physical. His CRP levels, that is a blood marker that measures systemic inflammation throughout the body, had been elevated for 3 consecutive years. His doctor mentioned turmeric in passing at the end of the appointment. Stanley had gone home and bought the least expensive bottle of turmeric capsules he could find. He took them diligently for 6 months. He felt no different. When he came to see me, he was ready to write off nutritional intervention entirely. When I walked him through the 3 rules, pepper, fat, and heat, and explained that the capsules he had been taking contained no piperine and no fat delivery mechanism and had never been heated, he leaned forward in his chair and said, "So they sold me a supplement my body couldn't use." In many cases, yes. The supplement industry is not required to disclose bioavailability data. Stanley switched to cooking with turmeric 3 or 4 times a week, a simple golden lentil dish his wife found, made with olive oil, black pepper, and 15 minutes of gentle simmering. At his 6-month follow-up, his CRP had moved in the right direction for the first time in 3 years. Now I want to be precise, because precision is what protects you. Curcumin is not a cancer treatment. It is not a replacement for colonoscopies, for mammograms, for PSA testing, for your physician's guidance, or for any prescribed medication. What the research shows, across dozens of studies including human clinical trials, is that curcumin interferes with the chronic inflammatory environment in which cancer cells are most likely to develop and survive, particularly for colorectal cancer, prostate cancer, and breast cancer, 3 of the most common malignancies in seniors. The research on curcumin's activity against tumor-promoting pathways is among the most promising of any dietary compound studied to date. Reducing chronic inflammation is not a cure, but it is a meaningful upstream intervention, and it is one you can act on at every single meal. Emotional pivot. Here is what I want you to walk away understanding, not just medically, but personally. Most people over 65 carry some degree of chronic low-grade inflammation. It is nearly universal, driven by decades of accumulated physiological stress, processed food, disrupted sleep, and the natural inflammatory shift that comes with aging. That inflammation is not a verdict, it is a condition, and conditions can be addressed. I say this often to patients who feel like the deck is already stacked against them, especially those with a family history of cancer. You cannot change your genes, but you can change the environment inside your body that determines whether those genes ever get activated. Chronic inflammation is one of the most powerful activators researchers have identified, and you have real influence over it, starting with what is on your plate today. Turmeric, eaten correctly, with black pepper and fat and gentle heat, is one of the most accessible tools available to you right now, in your own kitchen, with no prescription required and no complicated protocol to follow. Actionable steps. So let's make this practical. Here is what to do starting today. First, never eat turmeric without black pepper. Even a light crack from a pepper mill directly over the dish is enough. That single habit activates the absorption system. Second, always pair turmeric with a meal that contains healthy fat: olive oil, an egg, avocado, a small amount of butter. Third, whenever possible, cook your turmeric gently rather than eating it cold. A warm soup, a sauté, a simple golden lentil dish. These are all doing something a cold smoothie cannot. Fourth, if you prefer supplements, look specifically for products labeled with piperine, or that use a phospholipid delivery system, such as Mariva or BCM95. These are the forms with human absorption data behind them. And fifth, be consistent. Curcumin's protective effects are cumulative and build over months. 3 to 4 servings per week, prepared correctly, is what the research supports, not an occasional experiment. Before you go, I want to ask you one question. Did you already know about the black pepper connection before today? Leave your answer in the comments, because in my experience, even people who are very health conscious have never been told that a pinch of black pepper changes everything about whether this compound actually works. And if someone in your life has been eating turmeric the old way, a spouse, a sibling, a friend managing their inflammation, share this video with them today. That one piece of information could change everything about what they're actually getting from it.